Right, one day in September 2020, 2006, I walked into a large hospital located in the Akoka area of Lagos State. And actually, it wasn't very far away from the University of Lagos, if you're familiar with the Lagos environment. And I asked for the accountant, right? The receptionist got him on the intercom, and using what I had prepared as my elevator speech, I explained that I provided Excel Visual Basic software development solutions, all right, to help businesses get their work done faster with regard to data handling and report generation, and they'll do that with less effort in less time. So I gave examples of what I'd done, and on phone now. So, and this was on the intercom, remember. So after a few questions, he asked me to pass the phone back to the receptionist and told her to send me to his office in the penthouse on the top floor. Right. So when I met with him, we had a meeting that lasted roughly 15 minutes. He was very businesslike. I remember his name was Mr. Olode. I can't remember his other name. Okay, I remember, but I think it's better I just leave his surname out. Olode. Let me just put that down. All right. He was very businesslike, like I said, and what I found was that the stuff I was talking about with regard to automating the spreadsheet, the Excel spreadsheet for any client, was something that actually was like, it was a very felt need he had. So I actually hit a nerve in a way. So he asked me to show him demos of some of the past projects I mentioned on the phone that I had done. So I showed him the what I call the cash inflow and outflow tracker at that time, which later became my income and expense manager. It's a very little application. I used to sell it for 2.5, and there's a story about that on its own. That was one something that really helped me get my foot in the door in many places. All right, so I built. That was the software I built for used by business centers. Then later on, I had built in 2005 restaurant and bar manager software. This was after I came back from my trip to Ghana, a very useless, disastrous outing where I tried to look for business opportunities in Ghana. At that time, I was not as knowledgeable as I am now. And of course, my brand was not the way it is now. So that was a job that actually helped me get my feet off the ground. Okay, it was arranged for me. Somebody who knew me already, an uncle of mine, arranged for me to meet with this individual. He went on to become a member of Lagos State House of Assembly twice. I think he had 2 terms or so. Anyway, so this gentleman hired me when I came back. So I built a restaurant and bar management software. It took me about, I'll say, 20 working days thereabouts. And that's typically the length of time I actually give clients for the most part, for most jobs. So those two were apparently enough. Those 2 examples of work I had done were apparently enough to convince him. So he wasted no time. He took me straight away to his computer. What they had there this was way back in 2006, like I told you. So at that time over here in Nigeria, a lot of people were still, they were not very, how do you put it now? With regard to the use of the technology, PC and internet technology, most people were using desktop computers at that time. So he took me to one of his tables, okay, and it was a computer used by one of his assistants. Then he called up what turned out to be a number of manual Microsoft Excel workbooks that were used to manage their cash books for various purposes. For instance, there were some that were used for kind of tracking receipts and payments made to the main hospital, and also to track movements to and from the different bank accounts, so money paid in and withdrawn, that kind of thing. So basically for cash flow. So he told me he felt from looking at the demos I'd shown him that I could actually help them to automate their manual Excel workbooks to make them, as his medical director later tell me, more friendly. All right. So how much will it cost? That was the next question he threw at me straight away. Like I said, very business-like man. And you see, I want to quickly mention this. When you are talking with somebody who is indicating interest in hiring you to do something or in buying from you, maybe you have a product you're selling, the minute they ask you that question, it's a very good sign most times, because the person who is having that discussion with you and is not beating about the bush and not talking about asking more questions, instead goes straight to ask you, how much is this? How much do you do this for? It's a very good sign. It's a sign of a client that's most likely to be a good buyer, not a time waster. So because he said that, I instantly, I stepped up my game. So I told him how much it would cost. We negotiated and we came to a compromise. Basically, that compromise was still, I think it was just 5,000 naira under what I charged, because I recall very well. All right, so he ended up the meeting by asking me to send in a proposal with a quote. And those were the days when I still used to do proposals. I don't do them anymore. But at that time, even the proposal itself was more like just a quote, and the quote was based on the understanding that we had agreed the amount. So I did that a day later and then went on to other things, because like I said, we had discussed, he had said he wanted it, but he was not ready. So he wanted me to send that in and they would get back to me. So I didn't hear from him for about 2 months subsequently. Now, some weeks after I left that meeting with him, my last meeting with him, I went on with my marketing, a lot of payment pounding as usual, and I won a project to build an automated records management system for a medium-sized hotel that was actually located along the Lagos Airport Road. This was a project that I did. I carried it out by working with the hotel accountant as well as the hotel auditor, who was the one that actually engaged me and found me and brought me to meet the CEO. So I built this. One of the things I built in that hotel records management system was an automated cash book that generated a trial balance on a basic level. And all of that I did by following the guidance provided by the auditor and the accountant. Now, this job it took me, I would say about almost 2 months, not up to 2 months, and maybe let's say about 7 weeks. All right. So by the time I finished it, all right, it just occurred to me, this is something I learned to do, because I realized that if I was going to sell, I had to show proof, as much proof as possible, to move the ones who are like the reluctant or hesitant buyers closer to buying, and also the one that kind of, sometimes people their interest just wanes out, just flitters, dies out. So you have to be the one to keep the flames burning, to keep them interested until they actually make that buying decision. If you let them go, you stay out of their thoughts, then you may just lose that selling opportunity. So I knew that I had them where I wanted them, but I also knew that since they hadn't paid, I needed to keep in touch with them and show them that there was a good reason to still go ahead and take that buying decision with me. So what I did was to let them know I just finished this job. Tell them that it included building an automated cash book for the hotel. Now, of course, it was a hotel. They were a hospital. But the fact that it was an account system, they knew that there was a very close relationship between what I'd done and what they wanted me to do. Now I had experience of it, because when I was going to do it for them, it was going to be my first time of doing it. But now I'd done it with somebody else. And what I did was actually more elaborate than what they wanted. So this made the message I sent to him much more attractive, appealing, compelling. All right, so so when I called him, all right, to tell him that, he told me that they had actually had somebody who was working on an alternative, and as such, he would only call me if that alternative did not work. Okay, I thanked him and I ended the call. Now, I would just want to give you this piece of advice. It's up to you to decide if you're going to take it. If anybody you are approaching or who is discussing with you about hiring you tells you this kind of thing, where they're saying, "Oh, we have somebody else," or "I know somebody else," or somebody else has told me he can do it either for a lower price or better than you, blah blah blah. Once anybody says that, never object. Don't say, "Oh, no." Just let them be. Leave the client to decide whether or not to get back to you. Pushing will only weaken your negotiating power, and most likely will make you come across as if you are desperate. So you have to maintain, kind of what Herman Holtz, the consultant, was reputed to have said. You have to be a dignified professional, okay, and instead focus on doing more marketing to get more experience and more results and more successes under your belt that you can then show to this individual that you're trying to win over, so that he or she can change their minds. So 3 weeks later, anyway, I got a call from him on my mobile. He said, "Mr. Solagbade, this is XYZ, Mr. Olode from so and so hospital. I don't want to mention the name of the hospital. We want you to come and build the automated cash book we discussed about. When can you come and pick up your check?" And remember, I told you this was somebody I had already rated as being, most likely to buy because of the way he had pointedly asked me how much and all that, and the way he had related with me. So anyway, I went on to build a fairly different type of cash book from that used by the hotel, all right, based on his guidance, to match the format that he was using in the hospital accounts department, where he was the head of department. But the logic was still the same. Cash book, cash flow and all that, cash movement was all the same. So I was quite at home with it. And but the thing is, there was another opportunity that will soon follow that project. So I finished that project, and then on 5th of February 2007, so in the new year, all right, I won a much larger paid project with another hospital based in Lagos, using the above cash book that I built for the hospital, this Mr. Olode's hospital. I now use that as well as the cash book I built for the other hotel to sell my idea to the accountant in this particular hospital. So I was engaged within days of my first meeting to build a customer automated Excel VB software to handle the hospital's general accounts preparation. They also had a lot of spreadsheets they've been using for years to handle their weekly reports, right? And when the accountant saw what I did for other companies, he immediately knew that I could help him, and he convinced the MD, and they paid me. That was actually a big job. I got paid 200,000 naira, and I got a check, an advance payment check of 150,000, and then a balance of 50,000 naira afterwards. So, but what I did for them covered routine data recording of cash office receipts and report generation of all kinds, including year-end profit and loss reports, balance sheet, auto generation, blah blah blah. But it still didn't end there. The story didn't end there. There was yet another success story that followed it. On the 12th of March 2007, I mean, these are things I actually recorded in an article. I'm going to put a link to it in the description for this video, because it's important for you to understand that I've been around for a long time, and a lot of what I'm sharing regarding sales and marketing are experience based. These are not just ideas in my head that I'm coming up with, or opinion pieces. All right, so this is actually based on a write-up. This story I'm telling you is based on an elaborate write-up I did, which ends with a series of my displays of my software, different software applications that I built for different companies. Right, so on the 12th of March 2007, I actually got a call from the accountant of another large hospital to pick up a 100% advance payment check to build an automated cash book and a payslip generator for his own department. You see, one of the things you must learn to do, and this is what I've done all these years, and I had to do it because I needed to keep my sales funnel filled. I needed to keep new work coming in. I didn't want a situation in which I'll focus on doing a job for a particular client that hired me, and then I'll finish and I'll find out I'll have to go through what is called the feast farming cycle, where you have a period when you don't have any projects in hand and you're struggling, and then you have a project in hand and you're doing well, but you forget to do more marketing, so that when you finish that project, there will be another project waiting for you. So I learned to always reach out to potential clients or prospective clients or prospective buyers, so that while I was doing this project, a particular project, I would have another project in the pipeline headed towards me that I could actually try and close a sale for. All right, so that's what led to this particular one. While I was working with this hospital on this big project, I was also doing my marketing. Each day I would go out, I would still find time to stop over, do my marketing, and then go back to the client and show him whatever I need to show him. So I pushed and got into a point where the hospital, this second hospital, was interested, and the accountant wanted to have me build a payslip generator application and an automated cash book as well. So when he saw what I did for the other company, he was convinced and he hired me. Okay, I'll probably tell the story in another recording about what his MD said. That's something I really want to share with you, because sometimes you really have to assert yourself, particularly when you're a small operator, because if not, you're going to really struggle to get your money. You will end up doing work for people and they will not pay you. So there's a way you can negotiate your terms and ensure that you get money in your pockets, which you need to function. All right, so that made it the third time in 2007 that I will be asked to build that kind of application, the cash book for a hospital. Each time I use the more recent version to sell my services to the next prospective client. You understand? I just explained that. Now, and I continue to use this strategy till date to sell. Even when it doesn't matter where I am, in Cotonou, Nigeria, wherever. I use it and it enables me to sell better. People need you to demonstrate. That's the best way to sell. The best way to convince a buyer, okay, to actually send you money or pay you money, is to show the buyer proof that you are capable of delivering the solution he or she wants. Once you do that, it becomes much easier to get the person to agree. But if you don't have any proof you can show, it becomes more difficult. You have to do a lot of talking, and quite often you may not succeed. Now, you can achieve similar results, but you need to be ready to assert yourself and persist. I've said that before, because if you cannot assert yourself, people will see that you lack confidence in yourself. All you need to do is to be confident in speaking about what you offer. It's important to be able to say it. I mentioned the elevator speech. Tell them what you can do for them within 10 seconds or less. Because most times the people you're likely to be speaking with, who are decision makers, who can sign a check, who can approve payment to you, are busy people. So they're going to be telling you, I'm busy, come back. So you have just a few seconds to say something that will grab their attention and tell them and make them say, you know what, okay, come back later, I'll speak with you. That kind of thing. Because they hear something from you, or they've heard something from you that convinces them that it will be useful to have a longer discussion with you. I've done that several times and won clients over. Now, you have to, when you're speaking to them, you have to speak in terms of benefits that will grab their attention. Okay. And you must always ensure that you insist on speaking with the top people who can approve payment to you. Don't let anybody waste your time. Don't let gatekeepers waste your time talking to you as if they're the one that will decide. And then when you finish telling them everything you want to say, they then tell you, oh, I have to talk to my boss. It's always a waste of time. Don't waste your time. Insist and find a way to make a compelling argument that will make the gatekeeper believe that it's best he allows you or she allows you to see the boss. Now, in the Nigerian market, I've found that if you don't assert yourself in the manner I just described, you're going to get sent on many wild goose chases, and you have a lot of your time wasted, and you even get harassed by many of them for gratification of all kinds. So my advice to you instead, what you should do is tell the receptionist or whoever the gatekeeper is that you meet that you like an appointment with his or her boss, and make sure you specify that the boss you're talking about is the person who can approve and take the final decision. It doesn't matter how small they think you are. Ignore them. Insist. I know what I'm saying. When they see the way you are insistent and they see the confidence with which you are telling them what you have to offer will impress the boss. More often than not, they will say yes. All right? Don't take no for an answer. Now, ask if you can come back at another time if they tell you that they can't help you at that point in time. Just tell them what you have to say will only be said to the boss, and that you assure them that she or he will find it very valuable. For your sake, I hope you will be able to back up that claim if and when you get the opportunity. It goes without saying. By the time the busy person gets convinced by his employee to see you and then you mess up, well, that will be on you. Now, make sure you ascertain the true benefits of your offering to your target audience before you make such pronouncements. I wish you well.